Hello everyone, it's Omae and welcome back to the brand new video. Today we're going to take a look at the new treasure map legend Hajrudin that has finally arrived in One Piece Treasure Cruise alongside Gerd and Goldberg as well as Stansen treasure map rare recruits. Today I'm going to be discussing all these guys as well as Hajrudin's Pirate Rumble abilities, how he fits into the new Elbaf team, and which part is the best to pull on and whether you should be pulling in the first place. We also have the information for 5+ of PKA Rodo, so we'll go through that in depth as well. So a few things to note before you get into this is that the first part is releasing in about 24 hours, June 12th, 1900 PST. Part 2 will come out exactly one day after that on the 13th, and then part 3 on the 14th. As well as all these new characters are coming with 3 dupes fed in. So with the level limit break update recently, you essentially only need to pull 3 copies of Hajrudin to get him to level 150, which is quite massive. As you can see here right at the top, the new characters will be appearing as if 3 characters from the same evolution tree were used to power up. And the new Hajrudin will also come with stage 2 ink effect as well as max sockets. The new Hajrudin will make your chance of the steering wheel card succeeding 100%. The new Stansen will increase your pistol card chances to 100%, and then the new Gerd and Goldberg will increase your C chart cards to 100%. If you want my opinion, I think the Goldberg and Gerd has the best ability here, then Hajrudin, and then I think Stansen has the worst card to buff, right? As for the steps on the Sugo-Fest, there is a discount multi on all 3 parts, meaning you only need to spend about 25 gems / tavern medals for the first multi, since you do get a 5 tavern medal cashback. Really high value there. And then there is actually a new step, I'm pretty sure here. The 7th, 4th, and 21st is a guaranteed treasure map legend. I'm not 100% sure how new this is. It could have been here last month, but all I know is that this is something that hasn't been around. This is a very recent update and it's really high value. But what are the legends that are available? And of course, on each part, 25th multi is guaranteed Hajrudin. So part 1 is kind of whatever, I would say. The only really good character that's rate boosted besides the Hajrudin is the cross-skilled Buggy. The Kobe is kind of whatever, and Sabo is a very mediocre legend. There's every single treasure map legend available here though, so if you don't have a lot of these still, even after the 11th anniversary, I mean the 12th anniversary Sugo-Fest, then this is not a bad place to pull. But even then, the regular legends, I would say, are extremely mediocre, besides maybe Halloween Uta, right? Part 2, I think, is definitely the most well-rounded because of how amazing all of those treasure map legends are. And also the regular legends. We have Van Ogre, who, in my opinion, is like top 3 regular legend in the game. Baroque is also amazing. Vegapunk is whatever. Alba is insane. Nami is insane. Usopp Benilith is insane. Christmas Uta is insane. Bro, there's just so many hitters here on part 2. And all of the treasure map legends are super powerful. Kakuluchi, the 2nd best treasure map legend after Nami Karina. Kurasumole, extremely underrated, has saved me so many times with no new batch in treasure map. Ace, I've used him for the XP farming team, as well as just in regular content. He's also a really powerful unit. But part 3 here, the big thing here is that Sanji and Reiju has finally made their way into the Sugo-Fest. So I mean, yeah, this part has some really good legends besides even Sanji and Reiju. We have Stussy, who is so broken in my opinion, a really fun legend as well. We also have Frankie, who's great for strength super boss. Yamato and Otama, I've used this legend countless times in the last 2 months. We also have Mihawk, Zoro's enemy, who's great. Unfortunately, the rest of the characters are kind of whatever, but still a really powerful part. We have some really hard hitters here. Just for the fact that Sanji and Reiju is here, a lot of people should be pulling on part 3. But overall, part 2, I'd say, is a lot more well-rounded. There's a much higher chance of you getting something really good here, right? But should you even be pulling in the first place? I think the discount multis, really, you can't go wrong with it, especially since you get the 5 tavern medal cashback. But you really should not be pulling because we have a massive Sugo-Fest around the corner. The 12th anniversary has concluded. There is no second part. However, we will have a very high likely chance of seeing Loki, Ganko, and Shamrock appear at the end of July or early August for the Summer Sugo-Fest, formerly known as the French anniversary. This is a massive Sugo-Fest. In the past, we've seen units like Luffy versus Kaido debut there. It's a massive Sugo-Fest, and we will highly likely see the Loki legend during that celebration. So if you want Loki, you should save. And we will be seeing this Hajrudin appear in Aurora Gem Sugo-Fest in like about 2 months. So it's not like you need to get him right now, right? He will appear in the future. There's no urgency right now, especially if you don't have the other Albaf units. But finally, let's discuss Hajrudin. He's an in-striker powerhouse with powerhouse superclass. So most of the time you will be running him on a powerhouse team because of that superclass ability. But he, of course, is fitting on the Strat Albaf team being a striker unit. And if you want my TLDR, I would say the captain ability is less to be desired. He's not really worth running as a captain, but as a sailor, he's incredible. He does get access to the super class, and overall, he's just way better as a sub. He also has some really good sailor abilities that we will discuss later on. He has an unbelievably good support ability, only attaching to the new Giant Pirates tag Eunice though, and his Rumble stuff I think is very interesting. There are a few issues that we need to discuss though. So let's start off with the captain ability. All striker and powers units get a ton of cooldown, 5.25x attack, and then also a 6x attack boost if you don't have a type slot. So if you have recovery, tandem, rainbow, similar, wano, anything like that, it'll be a 6x attack boost in captain, and then also a 1.5x HP boost. So that HP boost is not dependent on your type of orb. That is just permanent 1.5x HP, of course. And then we'll make recovery and tandem counters matching. And then also, whenever you receive damage from the enemy, or when you tap on Hajrudin with a recovery or rainbow slot, then we'll apply weakened status to the enemy through immunities. So that is really powerful. Unfortunately, that's his whole spiel. That's literally all he's doing. No utility here whatsoever. Now, about this weakened status, since there are two ways to proc this, we have to consider the way that it's working because it's very different for each different activation condition. Because if you are receiving damage from the enemy, this will only activate on the next turn. And after the enemy's preemptive strike, it'll go from a 2-turn weakened status down to only 1 turn. However, if you're tapping on Hajrudin with a recovery or rainbow slot, then this will last for the turn that you are attacking, as well as another turn, which is really important because nowadays in Super Boss, we are bursting over 2 turns due to the damage cap. So having this weakened status for 2 turns is quite important. So I highly recommend activating this through tapping on Hajrudin with one of these slots. It'll be way better for your damage. You'll get way more damage over 2 turns compared to using the damage taken condition, right? But overall, it's still a really mediocre legend, I would say. Not enough cooldown, only to strike and powers units as well. Other units are not getting any cooldown. And the damage is kind of whatever, no utility. The damage is also kind of whatever in terms of the status effect that he's applying. If the enemy does not have increased damage taken, weakened status, this one is only 1.3x extra damage, which is quite mediocre, right? Fortunately, his special will apply that through immunities. So let's discuss what he's doing. Imagining his benefactor's smile. 15 turns after expansion is extremely high, I can't lie. Sets all enemies defense to 0 for 1 turn, ignoring all types of immunities. That is amazing. Not only is it getting around massive defense ups, no matter how many turns it is, but also proccing conditional attack boosts for defense down. So really powerful ability there. Then we'll reduce burn. This includes instant burn as well as special bind by 7 turns and increases all enemies increased damage taken by 2.5x for 2 turns, ignoring immunities. So This is very much meant to go with the weaken status, because remember that does become stronger. The weaken status is going up to 1.69x extra damage if the enemy also has increased damage taken. So definitely the intended design here is for you to burst over 2 turns using both the increased damage taken and the weakened status from the captain ability. And then if the enemy, or if the field has both the int territory and striker territory, then you will get a 2x increase to enemies increased damage taken. If you have either or territory, so if you only have striker or if you only have int territory, then you still get a 1.5x increase to your increased damage taken on the enemy. So this is definitely the biggest increased damage taken we've ever seen in Treasure Cruise. 5x increased damage taken if you have both territories. It is a difficult requirement. Remember, you can stack up to 3 territories of different type. It is quite difficult. However, if you are using the new PKA Rodo, it is very possible, right? I will explain why when we look at Rodo's kit. But overall, 5x increased damage taken, even though that's his only source of damage here, that is still, I would say, sufficient just because of how powerful it is. If there's no territories, it's kind of okay. It's not enough damage for the unit to be warranted, but it is going through immunities. We have to consider that, both the defense down and the increased damage taken. And then also the fact that he is getting access to the super class as a sailor. Now, it is quite a difficult condition to activate it. You need 3 characters from either the New Giant Pirates, the Dressrosa allies from the Colosseum, or the Straw Hats. So those are your options. And if you have 3 of them, besides Hajrudin, of course, then you get a full board of recovery orbs through block. And remember, you can use this to get around hunger stacks, one of the most annoying debuffs in the game, because it is not going to be reduced by passing the turns. You have to consume either recovery or similar slots to remove hunger stacks. So a very good orb manipulation here. And then he will also reduce his own special bind by 7 turns. Now, that is one of the drawbacks of this unit. If you can't proc the super class, you can't remove special bind. It's as simple as that. He does not remove special bind as a sailor. He has really powerful sailors, don't get me wrong, but he's not removing the special bind. He has to be have access to that super class, which is really annoying. At least he has access to this. He can remove the special bind on himself, whether he's a captain or a sub. So he doesn't have that same problem that the Roger Gaban legend had. But yeah, it's still annoying regardless that you need to have these characters. Otherwise, he's essentially a useless character, right? But either way, good open up. He's removing his special bind and also allows you to perform super tandem with both recovery and rainbow slots for 3 turns. So over multiple stages you can carry this effect over, and then also will make the orb multiplier of int, recovery and rainbow slots 3.5x when matching. This is way better than even 1 orbs. If you don't know, regular matching orbs are 2x damage, 1 orbs are 2.5x damage to everyone, and this is 3.5x. That is massive, bro, and it's for 3 different types of slots. So this is extremely powerful, one of the best orb modifiers in the entire game. Super powerful. This is just a really solid super class ability, I must say. Really powerful. And then of course, powerhouse units get super class, which is 1.2x increase in stats. So really good super class. I think the special's amazing as well. It does have a few strings attached. The fact that you need to have the super class for the special bind reduction. If you don't have the territories, his special is really not providing much damage. But if you use him properly, he's going to be a massive asset to your team. Additionally, he has access to the Super Tandem Boost potential ability. I did discuss this in depth in one of my videos. I will link it in the pinned comment, exactly how much damage each Super Tandem Boost level provides. But Providing a level 5 boost to Albath Arc, Sword Pirates, and Giant Tag characters is really powerful. That is at level 5 though. At level 1 it's only a 1 boost. So Super Talent Boost, remember, it does stack. You can have multiple characters providing it. So any bit of help is really massive for the damage. So even at level 1 it's worth running him, right? And then as for your sailor abilities, he does make Striker and Powerhouse Recovery Orbs count as matching. This is really important because a lot of ships actually don't make Recovery count as matching. I don't know how many times in the past I've used Recovery Orbs. I've assumed that someone made them count as matching, but just no one does that. So the fact that Hajrudin, both as a sailor and as a captain, is making those Recovery Orbs count as beneficial is really important, right? It is only to Striker and Powerhouse, but that's fine. And if there's either an int or striker territory, then you get a 1.1x increase in base attack for all your striker and powers units. That is a massive damage amp. You really can't sleep on that. Extra 10% damage, sign me up. And then he also sets bottom row slots to rainbow orbs, so very interesting ability. It's only to the bottom row, but if you lock these slots, if you use them wisely, then this can be really helpful in allowing you to get around poison slots, paralysis slots, super block slots. Sometimes all you need is 2 matching orbs, 2 rainbow orbs, and there are ways you can use slot swapping characters or slot swapping supports to move those rainbow slots to someone who you really need it on, for instance the captains, right? So super powerful sailor ability, essentially just a weak version of the New Year's Kuma, who has the full board of rainbow orbs at the start of the quest, right? So I think his regular abilities are extremely solid. Really good sailor, not as good as a captain, but still really powerful. And then he also has a really powerful support ability, as I said before at the start of the video. 3 turns of burn, which includes instant burn and a special bind removal on the entire crew. We have so few supports in the game that remove special bind on the entire crew. Usually it's just to the supported character. So having it for everyone and it being 3 turns of reduction is unbelievably powerful. And also it's such an easy condition to activate. It's just whenever the enemy inflicts you with one of those debuffs. So yes, it only attaches to the new giant pirate crew. PKA Rodo will benefit from the support. Hopefully we will see more characters that can benefit from it in the future, but for now it's already just a super powerful support ability, right? Now as for his rumble stuff, there's a bit of issues with this character. I think he is a 55 cost unit, remember that, since he is a treasure map legend. He's kind of mediocre when you take a look at his regular abilities. His resistance is kind of whatever. It's just action bind resistance with damage reduction, of course. Only the rumble units have extra damage against their advantageous class. Remember, there's no such thing as color affinity in rumble. The only relevant thing that you need to look at is the resistance. For non-rumble characters, it's just a damage taken reduction, no extra damage dealt, right? He's also not healing or anything. Fairly stock standard behavior pattern. His defense is 172 and speed is 160, also just fairly average stats on that side of things. He is an attack style character, so let's take a look at what his rumble ability is. Int, striker, and giant teammates, so they need to have either one of those attributes, not all of them. They'll get 6 levels of HP up, level 6 attack up, level 6 speed up. So those were really powerful buffs. Each level of HP up is 258 HP in rumble. So looking at Hajrudin, he's a 7180 HP unit, so that level 6 would give him an extra 1500. He'd go up to 8600 HP with that alone, so it's a very powerful HP amp. The attack up is also really good since he is doing spread damage in his special. That attack up is quite significant. And then also speed up of level 6. Speed up is only 5 per level, so it's about a 30 increase in speed. But remember, speed is like one of the most important metrics in Rumble. It can make or break a fight. It determines who attacks in what order in the queue. So even 30 increase in speed is so huge. And then if you have 4 more Albeth units on the team, then giant teammates get a defense up of level 6. So now we run into our first issue if you're trying to run this guy alongside the new Straw Hat Monster Trio Legends, is that he's only buffing the giant legends when it comes to your defense up. And defense up is really important. It's about 25 defense per level. It's about 150 increase in defense. That is huge. That is a massive increase for your defense. Defense is a huge reduction in damage taken. As long as the enemy doesn't evade defense, this is really important. The fact that he's not giving it to the Straw Hats is a massive bummer. Luckily, this is the only part of his kit that's only to the giant tags, so this is the only time we'll have this issue, right? And then if you have 6 or more Straw Hat Pirates and giant tag characters on the crew, so that includes Hajrudin himself, so you need 5 other characters, then you get 30% CT reduction to himself when he appears on the field. So if he's starting on the main lineup, this effect will activate as soon as the battle starts. If he's on the bench, this effect will activate as soon as he enters the main lineup, and he'll also give himself a defense up of level 3. So in total, he's getting a level 9 defense up, which is quite huge. And that 30% is essentially giving him 11 seconds of CT reduction, making him go from a really hefty 35 CT down to only 24, which is really good, right? It's still not low enough, I would say, to the point where he's guaranteed to activate before the enemies. There's still a really good chance that he gets screwed over, but 24 CT is not bad whatsoever. He has some really interesting Rumble stuff. He's kind of a mentality of activate once, he debuffs himself, he's now kind of out of the battle. It's a bit weird. He's not completely out of the battle, but he does provide some significant debuffs to himself that has to be considered, right? So at level 10, he's going to target himself for attack up of level 4 for 5 seconds. This is really important because he's about to do damage. If a character states they give themselves attack up before they do damage in the special, it's really good. We have characters that are kind of stupidly designed where they do damage and then they give themselves an attack up buff, which is just completely arbitrary, pointless. There's no use in that. But this guy is great. He gives himself that attack up of level 4. And then all int type and striker class teammates get attack up of level 6 for 15 seconds now. And then we'll target enemies within medium range for 25x spread damage. I remember spread damage adapts to how many enemies it targets. So even if you target just one enemy, it's really not that big of a deal, because that one enemy will likely get killed because that enemy will take the full brunt, the full 25x. Whereas if you, for instance, hit 5 enemies, all 5 of them, then each enemy will only take 5x damage. That's how spread damage works. However, it's just a really powerful multiplier. We haven't seen many characters that give 25x spread damage in regular content. We have seen it in Assault Rumble, I think, but yeah, really powerful damage here. Remember, this does not go through enemies' defense up, so keep that in mind. But overall, really good damage here. And then gives self attack down of level 10 for 100 seconds. Speed down of level 10 for 100 seconds. So he's really not going to be moving up the queue. Like, the chances of him even getting a shot at a second activation is just really low, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if a character has that low of a speed, I mean, level 10 speed reduction, he's only going to be a 110 speed unit. I mean, he will appear, but he'll take a very long time with that massive debuff, right? So yeah, he's kind of a one activation kind of guy, but he will also give your Straw Hats and Giants now teammates 100% chance to evade CT delay for 15 seconds. Now this is the best ability that this character has, hands down. We have Shanks, we have Emu. These characters delay you so easily, or not Emu, Shanks. Shanks' passive, whenever he's dealing damage or taking damage, you get 5% CT delay to all of your characters. It is crippling, to say the least. You need this effect, and I think he's the first in the entire game to provide evade CT delay buff. So I think this guy's going to be essential if you want to counter Shanks. That's for damn sure. You do need 4 Albafok characters, but I mean, that's not too bad. And then if you have 6 or more Stride Pirates or Giant Tag characters, so 5 besides himself, and also the Albafok part is also only 3 characters besides himself, then if you have these 6 characters, you get the second character on the bench swapped with Hajrudin. So this is really nice. We're starting to see this now where the sub swap mechanic is involving the second character on the bench. This is just a really powerful ability now, because without your units dying, you're going to get access to your second bench character and your first bench character now, which is really nice, right? And there's some really interesting stuff you can do with this. With all these other Albaf units, a lot of them have the ability that when they appear on the field, provides X amount of CT delay, CT charge, etc. We have 4 characters who do this now. So the fact that we have sub swap so much on the Albaf team is super powerful, cannot be understated. So yeah, really powerful. Remember, when Hajrudin becomes a bench unit and then someone dies and he comes back in, he's gonna get 30% again. This is not a one-time activation. That's why sub swap is one of the best mechanics in Treasure Cruise right now, because so many characters have abilities when they appear on the field, and these abilities can be activated multiple times by abusing the sub swap mechanic. So he's giving himself that defense amp, that CT reduction every time he appears on the field. I think this is amazing. There is a chance that he will activate for a second time thanks to that CT delay, or CT charge should I say. So yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed with this special. I don't think it's very hard to use. 4 Albafok characters really isn't too bad right now, and 6 or more strats / giants is also not bad whatsoever. It does require a very intentional team building, but the fact that you have 2 units that can be different tags is completely fine for your team building, right? So overall, I'm quite impressed with Hajrudin. I do think he has issues of dying before he activates his special, and also after his first activation he's going to be very hard to get back into action. However, I do think he's a character that will be essential if you want to use the new Albaf team to counter Shanks from the 12th anniversary. Now let's discuss the new Stansen and Gerd and Goldberg rare recruits. I do think the Stansen is way better. Bind reduction 7 turns, 80% damage reduction. This works great for both offense and defense by proccing your damage reduction based attack boost, which he does provide in his own special, but also allows you to survive death hit strikes, right? And then if you have an attack boost when you use the special, gives a chain boundary of 2.5x minimum for a turn. If you don't have an attack boost, gives a 2.75x attack boost for both int and striker types for a turn otherwise. So really good damage here. We always appreciate the chain boundary, right? Really good buff. And also there's great versatility there. Even if you have an attack up, you still get a buff. Even if you don't have an attack up, you get an attack up. And then if you have both a int and striker territory, so it's the same massive condition that Hajrudin has, then gives you a 1-for-1 damage reduction based attack boost. Every 10% of damage reduction is 0.1x to your damage. So a really powerful buff, but it is a very demanding condition. However, I still think the special is not bad, even without that requirement met, right? Damage reduction to survive a death hit is extremely valuable. You can bring another unit that can give you a damage reduction based attack boost. There is no rush, right? And then he also has the support ability to reduce bind by 2 turns on the new giant pirate crew. No captain ability. He does have the blow away resistance as a sailor. All these giant characters do. And of course, no rumble abilities. As for the Goldberg and Gerd, they reduce despair by 7 turns, change block and recovery slots into rainbow. So this is really powerful orb manip. Very few characters are doing this, and of course the intentional use of this is first using Hajrudin's superclass to give a full board of recovery orbs and then convert them into rainbow. So based on what your needs are, if you have hunger stacks, you can keep Hajrudin's recovery orbs to remove the hunger stacks, but if the enemy is about to give you really bad orbs, you can use Gerd instead and convert them into rainbow orbs, which the enemy cannot change into badly matching. Additionally, if your crew has an orb boost that gives a color affinity of 2.5x for instant striker, otherwise gives an orb boost of 2.75x to them otherwise. And then if you have both of those territories, once again, gives an 80% final tap buff to Powerhouse and Striker. Now remember, the final tap buff can be carried over multiple stages. It's not a turn-based buff. It activates whenever you hit a 6th tap. Whenever you tap with all of your characters, the final tap buff is used up, even if you aren't hitting with a Powerhouse or Striker unit last. So be very careful, but it is a massive damage amp. 1.8x essentially is what this is. It's a huge increase in damage, but remember, it's only to your final character who's tapping. So it does have its pros and cons, but it's not a bad effect overall. However, I do think the damage reduction based attack boost from the Stansen is way more valuable and way easier to proc. Also, it's applying to everyone, not just the final tap. And also, I do think the orb manip from Goldberg and Gerd is a lot more niche. There's a lot of instances where the enemy does not give you block orbs. You have no way of giving you recovery orbs, so the orb manip is kind of useless. Also, there's no slot lock from Goldberg and Gerd, which is kind of what they need. I mean, the whole point of rainbow slots is to prevent the enemy from giving you horrible slots in the following stage, but that won't work if you use up the rainbow orbs. So you need a way to lock those slots. And yes, we have the treasure map Perispera support to lock striker characters' orbs, but it would be so beneficial if she just had a way to lock them herself. The orb manip is weird. There's no slot lock. The final tap buff is only to the final unit, whereas for this guy, damage reduction, reliable, chain boundary, reliable, damage reduction based attack boost, reliable. The new Stansen and Gerd, I do think, is quite unique. Definitely going to be the harder of the two to replace on teams, but yeah, this unit's a bit difficult to use and not much of a reward in my opinion. They do also reduce despair on the new giant pirates. So that's about it for this character. They of course also have the blowaway immunity. Overall, I would say Stansen is more valuable, but Goldberg and Gerd is also really good and has the better card effect in treasure map. So that's my thoughts overall on these new giant pirate characters. Let's take a look at PKA Rodo before we wrap up the video. So I do think Rodo becomes a really solid free-to-play unit after his super evolution. He does allow you to apply both the int and striker territories that the new giant pirates need. It is hefty requirements though, needing 3 or more new giant pirate crew characters, or 5 or more giants. And then for the striker territory, you need 5 or more giants or Albefok units. So the first requirement is a lot easier to get for the striker territory, but yeah, for the second one, it's extremely difficult to get that in territory. But if you are running a giant themed crew, yes, you will get 2 territories from this free-to-play unit, which is quite impressive. And additionally, this character is getting around almost every kind of enemy defensive effect: resilience, defense up, damage reduction, and threshold. He does end of turn damage, AoE, so you can use him to wave clear weak mobs on stage 1 and 2 of a quest. Also, because he does have the special charge time reduction potential ability, he is guaranteed to be ready at the start of the quest. You can pop his special, and by the time you need him again, maybe on the final stage, stage 5, his special will be ready once again. So you can use him to wave clear on stage 1 and 2, and then you can use him again on another stage to get around resilience with the end of turn damage, as well as remove enemy defense up, damage reduction, and threshold by 4 turns, which a lot of the time is pretty good. Like, if you combine this with a support ability, that'll be enough. Like, this is really good. It cannot be understated. The fact that he's getting around this many and still is 4 turns of utility, I think is pretty good. And then he also provides a threshold buff to the crew, which allows you to survive death hits very well. I don't see the point of this because you're obviously supposed to run this with the new Stansen, the new Goldberg, and whatever her name is, Gerd. But the new Stansen already provides a damage reduction, so why are you providing a threshold? It's kind of pointless. But if you aren't running the new Stansen, then yes, this is great to survive the death hits. And it is a 2-turn threshold. So if the enemy does a death hit as a preemptive, then you can use the special in the previous stage, and that threshold buff will still be active throughout the enemy's preemptive. So if the enemy does like 100k as the preemptive, then this is going to be great for that. And then also give the crew a universal base attack boost of 1250 for 3 turns, so lasting over multiple stages. I mean, just that alone is just really powerful special. And that first part of the special has no requirements, no strings attached. But if you do have those tags, you can get the territories as well. So yeah, honestly, just a very unique and powerful free-to-play unit. I am thoroughly impressed, and I think he's really fun to use as well. He still has the same support effect, once again, for the Auto Plus, so keep that in mind. As for his Rumble stuff, I don't know why I went out of him. Here's the interesting part. He also has the sub-swap mechanic, the same thing that Hajrudin has, and it's also for the second character. So the ideal thing here is you put Hajrudin on your main lineup, his special activates, and then you run Rodo on the second bench slot. Rodo comes in, Hajrudin's now on the bench, and no, he doesn't have anything on appearance, but that's fine, because then Rodo will activate his special, and then Hajrudin will come back in and get another 30% CT. So this is obviously the best unit to use to ping pong Hajrudin from the bench back to the main lineup. He also has extra assault rumble abilities, but let's just read through his kit properly. So 18 CT, very, very low. Int striker class teammates attack up level 5 of 15 seconds. 3 high defense enemies get attack down of level 5 and defense down of level 3 for 15 seconds. And then striker class, giants, and destroy pirates get 200 HP per interval healing for 20 seconds. An interval means whenever someone attacks, so that is a lot of healing over time. It is for 20 seconds, so that's pretty good. Assault rumble, 3 enemies get 5k fixed damage. A lot of assault rumble bosses are immune to fixed damage, so it's okay. And then if 5 or more Albaf, Arc, or Giants tag units on the team, then you get the sub swap mechanic. So I think the main thing here is the fact that he has sub swap and he's very low CT, so it's very good chance that he will activate when he appears on the main lineup. And then his passive, he's giving attack up, recovery up, defense up, and then attack style enemies get special CT speed down of level 5. Whoa, that is really good. Level 5 CT speed down is 15% CT reduction, or CT delay, should I say, or should I not say it like that? It essentially makes the special, the Rumble special, take 15% longer to activate. So if a character has, for instance, a 30 CT, now they're gonna take 35 seconds to charge instead of 30 seconds. That's how significant this 15% is. It's really massive. And then in Assault Rumble gives himself HP up and special CT speed up. So overall, I think, yeah, he's going to go great with the new Hajrudin, especially since he's a 20 cost unit. So yeah, great in regular content and in Rumble. Make sure you max out and super evolve this Rodo. But that's going to be about it for the video. Also remember, we are getting another Luffy skull for the Albaf free Luffy legend. So over multiple events, we'll get the skulls to super evolve him. At a later date, his super evolution details will be made known, and I will make a video on it. Also, this treasure map, they did bring back the training drinks as a drop in the new world. So a lot of people are already desperate for training drinks, I understand, to limit break your characters. So it's a great change that they returned this function, because they used to actually drop the training drinks from treasure map, but they did remove it at some point. So I'm glad they're bringing it back for new players, right? I will talk about treasure map teams in the future, but for now, that's all I'm going to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, ask them down below. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.